Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the B Team on Jackrabbit Illustrated Twitter or X, and as well as the Jackrabbit Illustrated Facebook and the FFN YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us here tonight at 8:30 on a Monday when there's two Monday Night Football games going on, which obviously Ben and I talked about last week. We're obviously going to beat two Monday Night Football games tonight again, because why wouldn't we? But thank you, everybody, for joining us here. Big, there was a lot that went on in the FCS this weekend. Chad got back from his European tour. He was playing tennis in the open circuit over there, for those of you who are wondering.
Welcome in Zurich, Chad.
I was not in Zurich, but thank you.
No.
Welcome to Zurich.
No, it says welcome back. But anyway. Zurich, I don't know.
Oh,
maybe
okay.
I said it wrong.
Sorry. I thought, sometimes things are lost in translation.
They are.
Pronunciation.
That's my bad.
Like last time when I went to Oktoberfest and I accidentally ate rabbit, thought it was cheese,
So tell us about
easy mistake. Should we talk quick?
Haza, Geza, they do sound similar when you have an untrained ear. So
we do need to talk about our title sponsors.
We should do that first.
The Kubota dealers of South Dakota. Thank you to them again for being our title sponsors at Jackrabbit Illustrated for the B Team, A Team, and the website and blog posts. Kubota dealers South Dakota. They have 8 different locations across the state to service all your needs you may have for your acreage, all the way from lawn tractors all the way up to larger equipment, skid steers, snow blowers, the works, attachments. They've got it all. If you want some quality equipment, go ahead and start look for some orange.
And you can get 0% for 84 months. So,
that's a
sheesh.
That's 84 months. That's many much
This
years.
is straight from the horse's mouth, John Calais. I was like, man, you need to help me find a used one
and they have talking horses.
Everybody knows how cheap I am. So he's like, bro, just buy a new one. It's like free money.
It is. It's free real estate.
Anyway,
so how was Germany, Chad?
And wunderbar.
And the Republic, and you almost met up with Gerlach from the Hair Raisers.
Yeah, we were trying to make that happen, and it didn't. I was a little sad that didn't happen, but he ended up in a different tent and didn't. I don't know. He was just set where he was at, and I get that. So we didn't even get to meet up, and yeah, he had a good time. He was at the tent that I was at the first night. He was in that tent, the hacker tent, the first night that he was there. And then the second night he was there, I was there for the first night. So if that makes any sense. Yeah, we had a blast though, man. And we partied down. I wish I could pull up my X live posts, but they disappear, I guess. So I got some.
How many miles is it there?
Like in the air? Yeah.
From here to.
Can I just tell you in hours?
Roughly. All right, sure.
Because I don't know how many miles.
In hours.
It's so we flew into Denver, and then from Denver to Munich was like 9 3/4 hours, and then on the way back we flew from Vienna to Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt to Chicago, which was 9.5 hours. So like I started out what would be 4:30 Sunday, their time would have been 9:30 Saturday for y'all. Got back at 11:30 last night.
So the Rev jumping in says it's roughly 5,000 miles from Galveston to Germany. Let's go with that because it'll be close-ish enough. So you both traveled 5,000 miles and it got separated by a couple hundred feet at the finish.
I mean, actually, we were probably separated by a few 100 meters.
Oh my God. Listen, if I wanted to speak Canadian, we'd be talking hockey right now.
I did meet up with a Winnipeg Jets fan while I was in the tents.
Did you?
Oddly enough. Yeah.
Did you tell him you knew an American Winnipeg Jets fan?
Yeah. He was
Was
surprised.
he weirded out? I bet he was surprised.
I was like, you can't even buy like Winnipeg gear anywhere in Toronto at the museum. And they're like, nope.
So, how many days of drinking did you do in a row?
Well, I mean, I drink every day.
Yeah, how many days was it?
Well, 10.
10 days. So let's go. We're a betting. We have a betting theme on our show.
Yeah.
I want to guess how many pints. Did you order pints most of the time? Pints of beer?
It's not England, so it's half liters and liters.
Oh, my bad. So, how many liters of beer do you think over 10 days? A liter, that's like the tall. That's their like tall beer, right?
The
like
Moss,
the big,
the
big.
I don't
the
have
big one.
Sitting here.
Moss. We're in Mexico now.
No, so the German word for measure is MASS or Moss. So like at the one measurement, the 1 liter of beer, the Moss.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So 10 days. I'm gonna go. Geez, you probably racked up a lot though.
It wasn't as much as you think. Though.
Let's put the over under at 80. Brendan, you think over or under?
Over under of 80. That's
80 liters, like
80
full.
the
tall ones.
It was 10 days. I'm gonna go under slightly because I know Chad. I listened to Hair Raisers. They had said Chad had said his record was 8 in a day.
Oh, that was your record?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You suck at setting lines. I just made bank.
I forget how big they are.
Like, so 3.8 liters is a gallon.
They are really big. Okay.
This
8
is
half
a liter.
Pints. How about 8 half pints? 80 half
Makes
pints.
my hands look
we
liters.
still aren't
half
doing
liters.
pints, Ben.
We're really hung up on the pints thing.
All
Anyways.
Right. Anyways, welcome back.
Welcome back. We do. Brian Thompson brings up the the poll. We'll get there. Oh, we'll get there. I think.
Is there some controversy?
I think it's I just think this would be a good week to bring back the rip on Craig Haley stats.
Yes.
Let's not talk about Craig's poll.
Well, he deserves
his poll's not good.
He deserves the scrutiny of his poll.
Yes.
Jesse Royson brings up a
You have to look at it under the microscope.
We're going to talk about football.
Let's do that. So yes, there is a football game this weekend.
There is.
We play UND, the Hawks.
Coward.
The Fighting Hawks, and we will get to that at some point. We have a lot of other games to recap
on that.
On what? The game?
On the UND matchup. I took some notes.
Whoa.
I don't think
you sound like you're on the 18 now.
I know. Look at
whoa.
What is this?
We don't need to swear at me.
You trying to get promoted or what?
I'm gonna say
I didn't do that till I had to up my game and play with Matt.
Matt said Podfather said shit in front of his kids. I couldn't believe it.
Right. I almost fainted.
And then he had to turn the screen off. I'm sure he was whooping him in the background. And then they were gone after that.
Just a black screen in your ear.
Yeah, that would have been amazing if he didn't go on mute. That would have been good.
Oh my god.
But anyway, we will get to the UND game. First, we want to recap the games that happened this last week. Obviously, we didn't have a game, so we don't have that to talk about. But we do have our picks to talk about. And
you're here.
I was 7-18, so you would have been right. 7-18-1. You would have been right to fade me. However, if you would have done that, you would have lost a bunch of money. Because this week I turned it around. I went 8-3. Brendan had a good week too. He went 7-4, but I did gain one on him.
Nuts.
Yeah. So we got back on the right side of the picks this week. We'll talk about the Valley games first that happened. Lindenwood lost to Illinois State 48-17. Illinois State's an interesting team this year. I think that, in a year where we're not totally sure who's that kind of 3, 4, 5 position in the Valley. I mean, I think we're fairly certain that Southern Illinois is still up there, but outside of them, is it Illinois State? Is it UND? I think it's still to be seen, especially now that with UNI struggling. So it'll be interesting to see if Illinois State can kind of take that, that 3 or 4 spot in the Valley. Any comments on that game, Brendan?
No.
Good. We'll move on then. Missouri State takes care of Utah Tech 59-14. I did say take the over in that one, so I get credit for that. But unfortunately, I picked Utah Tech. Brendan took Missouri State. Can't take much out of that one. Obviously, Missouri State's expected to win that game. Southern Utah whooped up on Western Illinois as we expected, 37-17. Didn't cover by as much as we thought they would probably. Interesting CAA game. New Hampshire lost to Delaware. Delaware won 29-25.
Wish we could have watched it.
I know I really wanted to in the fourth quarter. I was like, I saw how close it was. And then
thank your Aunt Flo for that.
Yeah, I remembered that there's no way I'm gonna pay for Flow Sports. So
heavy flow. Did
not watch that one. Idaho and Sac State was a very entertaining game.
Oh, it was awesome.
I'm interested. Did the spread on that one flip all the way to Idaho -3? Because people were saying it was a bad beat.
But there was tons of people that said it flipped to Montana State by 3.5, or Idaho by 3.5. I saw a lot of that.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense because I was confused because when we picked the line earlier in the week, it was at +3. I mean, even like a day or two before the game, it was at +3 for Idaho. And so people must have, rightly so, been betting on Idaho. And Idaho ended up getting the late touchdown in that one to win 36-27. Yeah, I mean, if they were favored by 3, then that was an incredibly bad beat for Sac State bettors. Because I guess for those of you that don't know, Idaho took the lead by 3 late. Sac State was trying to end a game play, and they fumbled, and Idaho picked it up, and they took it in for a touchdown.
I mean, I would have thought that Idaho would have scored way more points than that. I would have thought it would be less close.
Sac State's defense was legit. Everybody, and I had somebody jump on me when I said that Sac State and Idaho look like 2 really good teams. And they said, or are they really 2 really bad teams? Because everybody has the image of Sac State in their mind of them falling apart in the playoffs, inflated record because of Big Sky scheduling and stuff like that. This was not the case. Like you're playing at Idaho, who we've seen as a really good team. They've proved it. This did not look like the Sac State team of the past. Like they were physical. They're pretty chippy. The refs kind of let that game get out of hand quick. There was some stuff both ways. There's a lot they were letting some late hits on slides go on McCoy, but those were 2 real teams. I think Sac wins if it's in Sacramento, so Sacramento State, I was a doubter of them going into that game. And in my poll, I think I actually moved them up. If you compared it to my poll the week before, they ended up actually being higher after that performance for me because they proved more in my eyes than they did in the earlier part of their schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I think those 2 teams are firmly in the top 10 of the FCS without a doubt. Sac State's a tough team, and I think both of those teams have a chance to be right at the top of the Big Sky along with Montana State. It'll be interesting to see. It's going to be a tough. It's a huge win for Idaho, just in as far as a chance at getting a seed. Because when you've got Montana State there, how many seeded Big Sky teams are there going to be? It'd be interesting to see 3, but
Well, they both play Montana State, and Montana State has to be on the road for both of them in back-to-back weeks. So I want to see those games. Those are going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to that.
It's too bad Cam Scatabo moved on, because I would have liked to see what he looked like in that game, because I think that would have been a difference maker for them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
And any player of that caliber in a game that close, that makes a huge difference. But it's kind of one of those things, I mean, you wish he was there, but it's kind of the same thing as like the Incarnate Word guys saying,
Yeah.
well, I have UIW ranked this high because they're FBS, this many FBS transfers. And I think Lawrence Smith jumped in and said, you know what you call FBS transfers that are playing in the FCS? FCS players. So, it's one of those things of, I guess, if ifs and buts were candied nuts.
Yeah, and
Right.
it just comes with the territory nowadays with the transfer portal. So we're gonna see that happening all over the place. Guys are gonna
and like Cats 2506 says, Idaho plays on the red turf next week. We will talk about that game shortly. Moving on, we've got Montana State whooped up on Weber State 40-0 at Weber State. That's an embarrassing result. I know Montana State's a very good team, but Weber State, I mean, that's a rough result for them.
Their offense just got dominated all game. And honestly, watching Montana State run from under center as much as they did, like they looked, they're I don't want to say that their offense looked better, but boy, seemed like it had more potential to be less unbalanced from the way they ran it in that game. And then for a second after half, it looked like there was a possibility that game could have gone similar to the one in Brookings, and except Montana State got the ball 3 and out, and then Weber gets it, and they started to do a little bit of something, and it was like, well, maybe we have Montana State has a problem finishing, and then that wasn't the case anymore. And once they stopped that drive, you could just tell that game was over. I switched channels at that point.
Yeah, they ran away with that one. And then Eastern Washington with a big win over UC Davis, 27-24, puts them in a really good spot going forward. And it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that momentum. Like we just said, they've got a big game against Idaho upcoming. Furman took care of Mercer like we thought they would, 38-14. That line at 7.5 seemed like pretty easy line, and they showed it. They won by 24. Samford got whooped by Chattanooga for a team that, I mean, they were in everybody's top 10 going into the season. Samford was, and they've just haven't shown anything this year, which has been really disappointing because they were supposed to be one of the top FCS teams.
Not just anything, they've gotten hammered. And one thing that I just want to go quick back to is Ron asked about Sac State's running for 255 yards before he got hurt, and then he says, or was that UC Davis? That was UC Davis. And honestly, watching that game, UC Davis was probably the better team. They just shot themselves in the foot. They shot their foot clean off, and then their running back got hurt, and then they went for the game-winning field goal and it got blocked, and they were a disaster. But yeah, Samford. I mean, if you're ranking Samford right now, what is you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh no, baby. What is you doing?
Speaking of a game-winning field goal and shooting your foot off, SEMO against Eastern Kentucky.
Oh my God.
Which was a big one for me because Brennan and I picked opposite in that one. I picked Eastern Kentucky. SEMO had the ball late with the game tied, and it was an interception or fumble, but late in their own territory, set EKU up in perfect position for a game-winning field goal. And then they proceeded to Eastern Kentucky ran a play without a timeout. So Eastern Kentucky had to run their field goal team on the field. They were rushing. They might not have got the snap off, but they did. And somehow SEMO calls a timeout right before they snap the ball to give Eastern Kentucky a chance to take a breath, get set up, and then kick the field goal. Honestly,
SEMO at this point needs to go see a doctor because they can't finish. Like, good God, it has got to be really frustrating putting all that work in to not finish the game. It's terrible.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, it sounded like it was like an assistant coach that called the timeout or something, because the head coach was like, who called the timeout? I don't know. It sounded like they might have had a couple too many players on the field. They're trying to run them off, but man, yeah, you just, I don't know. That's a rough deal there for them. But Eastern Kentucky with a big win there. Yeah, Dustin says SEMO can't give you change for $1. They don't have 4 quarters in them.
Well, I mean, honestly, off of that, I've been thinking this all week is Western Illinois should change their name to 50 Cent because they only give you 2 quarters worth of play. Like, they're good for a half. They're close with everybody, and then they get blown away.
That's right. Last game that we picked was Central Arkansas. They won over ACU big, 52-17. Yeah, wasn't much of a game there. So yeah, did much better in the picks this week. Let's see if we can keep it going. Do we want to go to top 25?
You want to read what our overall records are?
Oh yeah, my overall record is 15-21-1. Still not good. Brendan is 18-17-1, above 500 on the year. Very nice.
Whoop, whoop. Got to
Perfect.
keep that train rolling down the tracks.
All right, so we've got whose poll is this?
It's the FFN poll.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I saw the Blue Bloods down there. I didn't know if it was. Anyway.
Oh,
It does say that.
Are you sure this is our poll, Chad?
I thought it was. Oh.
All right. Now
It's
look.
the Blue Bloods. It's the Blue Bloods. My bad.
Oh, jeez.
Give me a hot second.
You know, he's had,
We try to
you know,
get this
you got a
right
lot
before the show, and
of
this is
travel. You're
But-
tired. I get it.
While we're talking about the top 25, there, if you haven't been on Twitter or X today, or the FCS Fans Nation Facebook page, there's a little bit of a stink.
Controversy.
Yeah, a controversy in regards to Montana, who, speaking of them, we should say that they got beat pretty handily by Northern Arizona.
Yes.
The same Northern Arizona team that lost to Utah Tech.
Everybody.
And so Montana, at this point, they should be in nobody's top 25. If they're in the top 25, they should be at number 25. So, Brendan, the floor is yours. You go ahead and talk about that.
I mean, here's the problem I have with Montana being in, specifically if you're someone like Craig Haley, Breg Bailey, whatever. You can tell he put them at 25 because he wanted clicks. Like, in your poll is so influential and really matters. And people look at Craig. I guarantee you, a lot of these lazy slot voters that he has in his poll look at his poll and then vote based off of what his poll looks like. So when he decides to be cute and do something to piss people off, it's not funny. You are going to affect things that matter for the playoffs. Stop being a douche. That shit's not funny. You're not fucking smart. Don't be a dumbass. This matters. Him being a dick is going to cause kids who busted their asses all year to not make the playoffs because he was snarky and wanted to be funny and get clicks. That's not funny. That's not cool. You should lose your right to have a poll in general when it matters that much, and you pull that crap. And I hope you hear me, Craig, and I hope you make some shitty little remark on your stupid little Twitter account. I don't give a damn. Be an adult, be a professional, do your goddamn job.
He'll just block you.
I don't give a shit.
No, I know. That's his
I
go-to
want him to
move,
print
though.
off the sheet of paper when he blocks me, and he can fold it up really small, and I'm not in. And then he can put it somewhere, because that bothers me. Like, there's the whole country has these athletes out here busting their balls, and he's going to screw with that because he wants to prove a little point. Ooh, I get to be snarky online. I'm a snarky smart reporter. All right, that's a fun gag to play, but you don't do it with the poll that matters. You could play that aloof, too smart guy with the rest of your crap, but don't do it with the poll that matters when you run that poll and you have that much. You have huge sway on the voters in there that you don't police. You don't do your job. It's obvious these people aren't just slot voting. They're slot voting and looking at box scores and records. And they're going, if you look at his poll, NDSU's like Montana's like 16th or something. That's absurd. That's people looking at it and going, they're 3-1. Come on, man. There needs to be some integrity there.
Yeah, they're ranked 18th in the stats poll right now.
You know, and you have
that's disgraceful.
Their wins are against Butler, Utah Tech, Ferris State, and then they have a loss against Northern Arizona, who that was Northern Arizona's first win. And previous week, Northern Arizona had lost to Utah Tech 50-36.
Like it. And I feel bad for the guys, you know, like Jamie Williams and the Blue Bloods and Sam Herder, who put a ton of work in and put quality, high-end polls out there that have truth and they back it up and they've watched the games and they care. But when you have people like Kevin Marshall out there pointing out that you have people voting in that poll that work for schools, like, what are we doing with that? Like, okay, let's just open the vote up to the student section at SDSU and see what they think. Come on now. Like, you need people who care about the subdivision enough to invest their time into it and actually do the research. And if anybody wants to put polls together, I was late for the FCS the FFN poll this week. Full disclosure, I did fill it out. I will be posting what I did this week and all that stuff because I want to have some integrity behind myself, unlike most of the stats voters who are cowards. But I don't, it's so frustrating that you have people not putting the effort in. And if you, that's what I was going to say. If you want to go and these people, if you're listening and you're offended, good. I hope you are. You should look in the mirror and be embarrassed. But beyond that, go into anygivensaturday.com every weekend on Saturday and then Sunday. One of the top threads on there is how they fared. And if you click on that, it's a Google sheet and it goes through their top 25. You don't have to follow it, but it also gives another almost a 45-ish, top 45-ish teams that receive votes in the poll, which is pretty consistent with the rest of the polls out there because those guys pay a lot of attention. And it tells you how the teams performed, who they played, and all that stuff. And Zach's probably like, Jesus Christ.
We did have your pull up just a second.
It is a handy resource for anybody who's voting. If you're listening, go into the how they fared. You can click on the team. It'll pull up their results this season, who they played. You can click on each one of those. It'll bring up the box score. You can see how good the teams were. It's worth a gander if anybody wants a tool to look at as a handy pocket guide. But that's my tirade for that. I dropped an F-bomb with feeling there. Sorry,
yes,
Matt.
You did.
Well,
so, and the real problem is
it matters.
It's slot voting, right? And so it's people that they assume that Montana is going to be really good, and then they have a problem taking them out once they show that they're not good.
Yes.
And you know, it's one thing to have them at 25, but for the poll as a whole to have them at 18 means that there are some people that are still voting them probably close to the top 10, if not in the top 10. Which is insane. Like, you have to have some integrity, like you're saying, and part of that is posting your poll. And I think that there's probably plenty of people in that submit a poll there that would be embarrassed to put their poll out there because, like you said, they just don't pay attention to the games enough to really know what's going on. They just simply, I'm sure they look at the records and they say, "Oh, Montana's 3-1. Well, they're probably a top 15 team." Because it would be easy to do that, and it's just a lazy, way out. And I'm sure a lot of them take that because they probably don't care much about it, like you said. So,
well, it's faster. Like when I put my poll together for FCS Fans Nation, minimum 45 minutes that I am spending after the games are done, after I've looked at and watched games, and I know nothing compared to what Blue puts in for Blue Bloods and Herder and Jamie Williams, but even I'm putting in an hour for a fan poll for our fan network.
Did you just call Zach Blue?
Yeah, Blue Bloods.
I know, but
people call him that all the time.
Blue? I didn't know that.
You're my boy, Blue. He's watching.
Like
he gets it. I think they do, and if they don't, I made it up, and I like it.
If they don't, they should.
If they don't, they're gonna. It's gonna be a thing. BT Mafia is making it happen. But yeah, the problem with slot voting, it's so easy to do, and it's so ingrained in people from the BCS because that was such a thing, right? When people watched the BCS and when FBS had BCS rankings, there was like a calculus like, oh, this team lost, so they dropped 3 spots. Well, the problem is that screws over teams who were unranked at the beginning of the season. It puts all this weight in a preseason poll that is at best an educated guess at how the season's going to turn out. And you end up so married to it that you still see its fingerprints on your standings at the end of the season, and it shouldn't matter, but it's so easy to go, oh, just let's slide the up and down or over and across like we're on a giant abacus because I can go ding, 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 ding. All right, submitted my poll. Like It's just laziness, and it's hidden behind and it's hidden behind an excuse mentality. Like we love Joe DeLeon and Sean Anderson, but when at least they had them lower. Like I wouldn't be this mad.
Joe.
I wouldn't be this mad if stats had them 23, 24, 25.
Exactly.
Like it was expected.
Right.
But 18, and for people who don't understand, like you were saying, that means there's votes at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because for people who don't know, the rankings are based off of points that you get for each slot, and each vote is worth so many points wherever they are. And then that's how you get ranked. So like you said, there had to be people way higher. My God, what are we doing?
Like Seth Meyer said, the AGS poll is really good. A lot of voters post their polls on there and defend their rankings of scrutiny. Highly recommend that one. And then also, obviously, the one we have up on the screen here, the FCS Fans Nation poll. All the guys that submit on that are just diehard FCS guys that pay a lot of attention to a lot of games, and they know what they're talking about. And I'm sure every one of them would defend their ballot if anybody had any issues with it. So having said that, the top 25 as it sits on FCS Fans Nation, which should be the the FCS poll that is followed by whether it's a playoff committee or whatever. But we've got SDSU at 1, followed by NDSU, Montana State, Idaho, and Holy Cross, and then Southern Illinois is in there at number 9. UND's at 13, and I think Youngstown State's at 21. That is it for Valley teams. So yeah, big matchup, number 1 versus number 13, as far as this ballot goes for SDSU this week. Yeah.
And just to point out how much work that Zach puts in, I know Chad had it up here a couple times. He said he hadn't submitted his ballot before 10 p.m. Sunday night because he was stressing out over it. Zach does it for a living, so he was working on it all day Sunday. So it's crazy. But that's enough on the poll. It's I'm gonna have high blood pressure and and I twitch.
Yeah.
In the end, it'll work out, but like
it will. It will. But like you said, I mean, if they have them at 18 now, and
it does matter.
Yeah, it does, because if a team plays them and beats them, it looks way better having them at 18 versus at 25 or even out of the poll like they should be. So it matters a lot.
And one more thing, if you're a Grizz fan, one of the ones who are soft enough to tell me to get Montana's name out of my mouth, if you expect us to feel bad for you and back off, let me tell you what my dad used to tell me. If you want sympathy, look in the dictionary. It's right in between shit and syphilis.
I love it.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to mark this one as not for
yeah,
youth
this one's
consumption.
going on explicit on the old.
Hide your kids, hide your wives. He's swearing at everybody.
He's swearing at everybody up in here.
All right. We don't really need to go over the Valley rankings. We talked about Valley rankings last week.
Jesus, Jesse.
There were only
not while I'm drinking.
There were only 3 Valley games. And
I forgot I'm in a hotel room. I was shouting like that.
They're Illinois State, Missouri State won. Western Illinois lost. So yeah, Valley standings are pretty much the same as before. Outside of that, should we move on to this week's games that we're looking at?
Sure.
And then we can talk about the UND game.
Sure. Yep.
Now
I just got this fear in the back of my head that my neighboring hotel room heard that and thought I was an abusive husband or something, and I'm gonna have cops show up behind me. That'll be entertaining live, huh, guys?
That would be fun. I would enjoy that.
No, it wouldn't. I got work to do tomorrow.
So we don't have that many games this week to pick. There are 5 Valley games, and then we've got one outside of that. The first Valley game is Youngstown State going to Northern Iowa, and we don't have a spread yet. Obviously, we'll see those on Wednesday, and then we'll post our pick videos like we did this last week. But big game for UNI. I mean, big game for both of them, honestly. UNI needs to bounce back. Youngstown State needs to keep their record, good enough for once they get to the meat of their schedule. So if Northern Iowa loses this game, I mean their backs are firmly against the wall, if they're not already.
Yeah, and honestly, if Youngstown State wants to be taken seriously, they have to win this game.
Exactly.
100%.
There it is. I was just looking for you, Y-Town. I was going to ask Chad to go way back and made that a lot easier, buddy. Apparently, Youngstown State hasn't won in the Unidome since 1999. Holy God. That is tough.
That's a long time.
A little chilly for Willie down there, or what's the deal? Like, penguins don't like the indoors, feel like they're in a zoo. That's crazy. This would be the
for penguins.
This would be the time. Sharply dressed bird. Anyways, yeah, this is the time they got to do it. But then again, UNI will always UNI, so they will.
And their backs are.
I'm already scared of the line. And no, but the problem is their backs aren't against the wall enough for the guaranteed UNI to come out. Mm-hmm. So Youngstown, and it's not that I don't think Youngstown couldn't beat them if the UNI's backs were against the wall. I just don't want to pick the spread. That's going to suck out loud. I do agree. If Youngstown State plays the way they did versus Ohio State, they've got a shot. Yeah, that's for sure. But
I would assume
99.
I would assume it's going to be close to a pick 'em, honestly.
I would guess as well. That pretty much.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of the Unidome, what was the broadcast of the Sac State Idaho game? Like, I texted out my 7-year-old was next to me while we were watching. He goes, "Is this from the 1900s?" Because
First off, ouch.
yeah, the quality of the broadcast wasn't I don't know, the camera quality wasn't great. The ticker on the bottom looked old school. Plus, it's in the Kibbe Dome, which just I don't know, just is old. And
I know Idaho fans love the Kibbe Dome, and it's like a national thing to think it's cool. And I'm not saying it's not cool. I'm just saying I saw Sicko's committee was at the Idaho State game, and that just from the field views now that they had on the sidelines, that might be one of my favorite FCS domes. Outside, like if you can get past the high school basketball gym painting on one of the walls in the end zone, like it's pretty crisp looking. It's a nice looking place.
I do like the look of that dome. I do.
Holt Arena, Rev coming through.
The next game we got on the slate here is USD going to NDSU. I expect NDSU to be favored in this one by, I don't know, 12 to 13 probably.
I bet they're favored by 25.
That many?
Yes.
Oof, that'll be a tough spread to pick then. You're probably right, but.
Yes. That is, and USD this year with their pattern of not waking up until the second half.
Yeah, good luck with that.
That is, that's not the strategy you want in Fargo. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
They're going to get, it's going to be a baby seal clubbing if they come out low.
That's actually a really good betting advice is to take NDSU first half in this one, the first half spread, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because they may not cover late, but especially if it's a big spread, but they will likely cover the first half spread if USD looks like they have the same as the other first halves this year.
What people come here for the great in-depth insight that we give people and the deep conversation.
I mean, sometimes we're right.
Hey, I'm batting over 500. People should listen to me more.
Then we got Missouri State going to Southern Illinois. I'll be interested to see. Yeah, the Sock Lukey. Southern Illinois is usually pretty good at home. I expect them to win this one. I expect that they're going to be a 10-ish point favorite. You think they'll be higher than that, Brendan? Or
I think that'll be about right. It might creep up to 12 or 13, which I think would be kind of high.
I do too.
But I can see it doing that.
Yeah. And then we have an awful game. This is a sickos type game, kind of the toilet bowl here of the Missouri Valley, Indiana State versus Murray State. Although it'd be better if we could include Western Illinois and have a three-way toilet bowl there. But
that's the only way to make
for the battle.
Those three playing each other. The only way to make it exciting is to make all three of them play each other at the same time on the same field.
On a triangular field.
Have three balls out there and just chaos.
It would be like the figure eight racing of the football world. And who says no?
Just pick which one actually has a quarterback and play 500.
We can take Western Illinois Stadium because they wouldn't probably care what gets done to it anyways. Add a field going towards the away sidelines and then going up the bleachers, and let's just let it get nuts.
Jim Poppins
NFL blitz on cocaine.
I love it. And then last but not least, before that, we do have one non-Valley game we're picking. That is Idaho going to the awful red field at Cheney, Washington, Eastern Washington. This one, I think, Eastern Washington is probably riding a little high right now. I think they'll come back to earth, in my opinion. I think Idaho is going to probably be favored by 7-ish. And I think they win by a couple scores, 2 or 3 scores, honestly.
We'll see how X team handles the emotion of it. I'm gonna probably have to go and peek at how they did after the huge Montana win last year, if they had to let down that game or not. Because in Spokane or Cheney is a notoriously difficult place to play. I don't know. I think Idaho wins, but I don't know if they win by a couple scores. I think it might end up being tight because it is in Cheney.
It's very possible. Weird things happen on that ugly field.
And like you said, kind of a trap game. So
I don't care what anybody says. That field is ugly. I think it's a consensus. Though.
Generally speaking, I am team colorful field. There are 2 glaring exceptions, and that's Eastern Michigan and Eastern Washington. I don't love either of them.
For what it's worth, after Idaho's big win against number 3 Montana last year, they whooped Portland State 56-21.
Portland State sucked.
Well, just saying. You wanted to know, I told you.
Which Portland State home of the most lopsided victories and defeats in the country. Have you seen that?
I did not know that.
So they beat in their first 3 games. They played 3 games, right? They played that North American team and won like 93-0. What do you think their point differential was out of those 3 games total? Remembering they scored over 90 points in one game.
It was probably close to 0.
It was 3 points.
Yeah.
And now they who did they beat? Cal Poly, and they put up like 60 on them. That team's on crack. I don't know what's going on.
Ariel
I'm down for a blue field.
Ariel mentioned the birthday cake. I'll take UCA's birthday cake field over the red field any day.
I love the birthday cake.
Way better than the red field.
I agree.
Zach says, I'm assuming you won't be down for a blue field in Brookings. Lots of hate in the red field. God, no. No, please.
Blue field.
God,
blue
no.
Field. Blue and yellow field.
Yeah, can we do the checkerboard the whole field? No, checkerboard
Holy
the whole field.
crap.
God, that'd be terrible.
Do you know how many students would be doing shrooms and going to that game just to stare at the field? It'd be easy for UPD. They just wait all day and they'd wander into the stadium and start staring at the field. Got one, they just snag them.
Yeah. No, please no. Hopefully it never happens. All right. So now that we've gone through all that,
field's Coastal Carolinas though, because that teal is just.
It doesn't look great either, but I'll still take it over the red one.
Well,
I will. Yeah, and over that gray Eastern Michigan. I just want to hit my
I don't
TV like I'm back in the 70s, like the colors. Funked.
It does look weird. Now that we've gone through all that, let's talk about the big game this week. SDSU having the Fox come into town. Was that better?
You gotta land the like meet the Fockers.
Oh, all right, fine.
They're like Guy Fawkes.
Yeah.
So
swear word if it's not a name.
This game is another one of those where you've got that mobile quarterback, and it's always just kind of a scary one for us. I feel like a lot of people have. A lot of teams have problems with mobile quarterbacks, but SDSU seems to have problems with them all the time, whether it's Schuster or Baker or Sluka or who did you and I used to have as a McIlvain or something.
Yeah,
he's down in Central Arkansas.
Yeah. It's just always been a problem. And so that's going to be a huge key for our defense is containing Schuster. Our D-line needs to play well, and our linebackers need to make sure he doesn't get loose. I will make the call that our D-line gets at least 2 sacks in this game. Boise State sacked Schuster 6 times, and so I expect us to rack up 2 or 3 sacks this game.
Yeah, getting pressure on Schuster is going to be huge. He's given us himself. He's given us problem the last couple times we played.
100%.
It's just the reality of it. He likes to play against SDSU. Now we'll see in Brookings this time with a full crowd. I'll be curious to see how they handle that environment, especially since obviously we even saw Montana State teams aren't ready because it's new for that environment and the level that. And I don't think most people realize what level that the Dana could get to when it's full and in full throat. So I do like that. We've had times where we've had no problem blocking up their goofy defense with all the blitzes and stuff, but there's times that we've struggled. I do like our chances with that. But for me, what I've found interesting, speaking of slow starts, I went and did some maths, so they're probably wrong. Here's UND's points per quarter on the season. First quarter, this is the whole season, the whole shebang, all 3 games added together. First quarter, average. How many points? I have an average for later. We'll do the average second. I didn't do maths just to say stats once. So first quarter, how many points do you think they've scored in the first quarter in 3 games this year?
21.
10.
6. How many points do you think they've scored in 3 games in the second quarter?
10.
21.
27. How many points do you think they scored in the third quarter?
35.
There's
25.
emphasis on the third quarter. 56.
Woo!
Wow.
Fourth quarter, how many points?
21.
21. Yeah. Ben, you're the big winner. You won a crisp internet high five. Way to go. 56 points in the third quarter. That, I believe, without doing too close a math, that's more points than they've scored in all 3 other quarters combined. When do you think it's important to jump on them and be ready for them?
Straight out of halftime.
Straight out of halftime. That's when they're coming out on fire. So to average it out, they're averaging 2 points in the first per quarter in the first quarter. They're averaging 9 points in the second quarter. In the third quarter, they're averaging 18.67. They're averaging 3 scores in the third quarter this year so far. And then they're averaging a touchdown in the fourth quarter. So they scored 0 points. And now here's the other thing about that, because you have Drake factored in there, right? They didn't score any points on Drake in the first quarter. That's not a good thing.
It's not good.
It's not good.
I have good news.
Start slow.
I have good news. Guess how many points SDSU has given up in the third quarter this year?
0.
Exactly 0. And that's been a calling card for Jimmy Rogers, is that he makes great halftime adjustments, and our defense just comes out and looks. I mean, if they hadn't looked very good in the first half, they look lights out in the second half. And so, yeah, I mean, UND is going to have to start faster than that. Otherwise, they're going to lose by a lot.
Unstoppable force meets an immovable object. This Saturday in Dana J. Dykow Stadium.
I love Dustin's reminding us. He's like, "You idiots! You need to read your."
yeah. I got a little
by the way,
yelling.
I feel like one of us is supposed to bring those up. And
it's presented by Jackrabbit Central, our game preview. Jackrabbit Central, your best place online in downtown Brookings and on campus, as well as in the stadium store to get all your Jackrabbit apparel, gear, and anything else that you might want to be SDSU. They've probably got it. They've got onesies, footballs, bobbleheads, pins, stickers, buttons, flags, hats, banners like behind Ben's head. Stop by Jackrabbit Central. And if it's a home game and let's just say you're listening to some idiots talking online on a podcast, just hypothetically, and they tell you that you need to go to Jackrabbit Central for Touchdown Tuesday, just think to yourself, was it a home game? Because if it wasn't a home game, I hope you didn't make yourself feel bad, because they don't do Touchdown Tuesday on away games.
That's our bad. That's our bad.
It's-
We were pushing that hard after the Drake game, and it turns
I
out
mean,
it's only after.
weren't we technically the home team though?
Turns out it's only after home games, which you can't blame them because the deals are so good on Touchdown Tuesday. They'd go broke if they did it every week. So definitely take advantage of those after home games. Next Tuesday, hit up Jackrabbit Central for sure because we're going to get all the touchdowns this weekend, and it'll be a lot of percentages off.
Yes. And if you want something to do after or before the game, head down to our newest sponsor. We're running out of time. We got to get these guys in. We got to get her done. Welcome to the commercial break of the B team. Thank you for joining us. Please hang in.
Do we run out of time? Is there really a time limit on our podcast?
Well, I don't want them to be like
we've went one and a quarter, bud.
Go big, go blue, go Jacks. Oh, shoot. And Cubbies, they're pretty cool. And then it cuts off. Like, that wouldn't be ideal.
Cubbies is pretty cool. It's awesome.
Cubbies in downtown Brookings is awesome. Their rooftop patio is awesome.
Say you can't get tickets to the sold-out game. Where are you going to watch the game, Brendan?
Go Cubbies.
Yeah, go to Cubbies.
Who are you going to watch?
Not a better place to watch the game.
Oh, we're making up for it. We've got a whole song they could have for a terrible TV ad that ends up on the internet and is famous. We're gonna watch at Cubbies.
That's so bad. They're gonna drop us in a heartbeat if they hear this. No, but seriously, Cubbies is the best place to go to if you can't get into the Dana. Go to Cubbies, watch the game. Go to Cubbies for the coaches show on Monday nights.
Mondays normally. Yep.
Monday.
Did they have one today?
No, they did not.
They did. It showed up on my Jackrabbit app.
I looked and I did not find it.
Not that you can listen to it on the Jackrabbit app, but it will tell you it's starting. I'm not bitter about it.
But anyway, Cubbies is awesome.
And it's great after the games too.
So. You know what's really good after a game though?
A Butterburger?
Oh, 50 Butterburger.
It is. 50 Butterburgers are the way to go. Culver's, you know what would be a great day if you get to Brookings on a Tuesday and it's Touchdown Tuesday, you hit Culver's for lunch, you go to Jackrabbit Central to get Touchdown Tuesday, and then you go to Cubbies for supper. That sounds like an amazing day. But yeah, start your day off first at Culver's, get the Butterburger, get the curds, get the rings, get the fries, get everything. Don't forget the custard and the Scoopy tokens. Thank you, Brookings and Watertown Culver's.
Yes. And someday I'll get my Scoopy tokens I won on a bet.
Someday. How many did you win?
3.
Oh,
and
okay.
a Butterburger.
We're just throwing stuff in now?
No, the Butterburger was first. I insisted on 3 Scoopy tokens being added on.
You gotta earn
just because
Scoopy
I knew it'd be
tokens,
annoying.
Man.
And now I'm more invested in the Scoopy tokens than I am the Butterburger, to be honest.
All right. Mike asked, "What's on the tailgate menu?" That's a good point. Tailgating
it's a little early in the week for that, Mike.
But it's a good point. Tailgating starts at 9:00 on Saturday. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a great day. The weather looks amazing. Come out to tailgate. I'm sure there'll be breakfast at some tailgates. There'll be lunch at other tailgates. There'll be a lot of good food, a lot of good times. But back to the game that we were talking about. Yes, we have to contain Schuster. We have to Belquist, their wide receiver.
Yes. And
he
Mog
is really good, and he is a yak king. He's slippery. He's fast. We have to contain him. I would not be surprised to see him break one this game, just because that's just how good he is. I mean, he finds a way to get loose. And so, yeah, we'll have to do a good job of that. You talked about UND starting fast. I think it's important for SDSU to start fast. We last year at the Alaire Center, that was a scary one. Honestly, I remember watching it on my phone, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And until it was either Gales or Lofton had a pick six and turned that game around, and until then it was pretty scary. And UND is the type of team that can do that. They can get up on you. They can, and they got the type of defense that they just cause chaos. They got a different look. It's a 3-4. They blitz a lot, they stunt a lot, and so if you're not ready for it, they can catch you by surprise. But after that last year, I feel like Lujan is going to have something ready for that defense, and I fully expect us to start off pretty hot, especially after we didn't start fast against Montana State. And then the start we had against Drake, even, letting them score a touchdown right away. If our defense is on the field first, I expect them to start off hot as well. So, it's just, I would be worried about UND. I think this is a bad spot for them. Coming to Brookings, a sellout. There are times when we haven't come out of bye weeks well, but I feel like Jimmy is not going to let this team do that. I think he puts such an emphasis on every single week, how important every week is, that I don't see us starting slow, and I think we'll be fine.
Well, that's the fun of it, right? It's a new team now. Like saying, well, we always come out slow. Like, well, new coach.
Exactly.
What do we do? I don't know. Maybe we come out hot every bye week. We don't know.
Exactly.
It's a whole new world, as they say in The Little Mermaid. There's a whole song about it.
Yeah. One thing that I always see when we play UND is they always seem to have some kind of trick play. Or maybe it's just flashbacks from that game we went to in the Laris Center, Brennan. But
in the spring. Yeah. When they had the fake punt. And
the fake punt.
It's just kind of their whole offense. There's a lot of misdirection, quick, get it out, get in your athletes' hands, get it out in space. But they do not shy away from trick plays, and I would not be surprised to see some here.
I think we're going to see one.
See the special teams coach earn his money on this week.
Well, to get real specific on the trick plays, I think that they take Quincy Vaughn, who's used to be their backup quarterback, and is now playing tight end for them. He still comes in and plays quarterback and on their goal line sets. But I'm going to call that they try to get him a pass out of the tight end spot. And so that'll be interesting to see. But he's definitely a force to be reckoned with at the goal line. He's a bigger guy. They bring him in. And I think he's got 7 carries for 6 yards and 4 touchdowns or something. And so, yeah, they definitely know how to score the ball once they get into the red zone. But it'll be on our defense to force them to kick field goals and keep them out of the red zone.
I feel like Bubba's the only coach that likes trick plays as much as Jason X. So,
yeah. Speaking of Jason X trick plays and him being involved, anybody else see that Sac State trick play? Not to completely go way off topic. Did you guys see that?
I did not.
Oh my God. It was a double reverse flea flicker pass. Screen pass. Double reverse flea flicker screen pass, which is a whole bunch of words in a line that I never in my life was like, those are going to be said by me all in that order someday. But it was phenomenal, man. That was a hell of a play. That was really cool. Then it worked like a charm. It was awesome. I would love to see us steal that one. And I don't want to see Bubba steal that one. I would not love seeing that against us.
Boy, that's got to be a long play to develop.
Did they throw it back to the quarterback or not?
So quarterback hands it off to the sweep motion.
Mm-hmm.
He hands it off for the reverse.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the quarterback's backed up. And as he ran by, he tossed it back to the quarterback, who then went and threw the wide receiver screen out of it. And because it was developing so long, he had a wall of offensive linemen over in front of him by the time he caught that thing. And it was pretty sweet.
Interesting. Back to the game that we were talking about. Bring up Jesse's comment. It was a while ago now. He said, guess who's Bach? Bach again. Bach is Bach. Tell a friend. Had to
it was
to
good
mention
until
that
the
one.
end.
yeah, so it will be cool to see Adam Bach back. He's
Yes.
a beast. We talked about him on last week's pod, how much of a difference maker he is. And especially against a guy like Schuster, it's huge to have him out there. It will be interesting to see how much he plays. If they just unleash him and he's out there for the whole game, or if they keep him on kind of a pitch count.
And
The
Matt
other
was
guy,
alluding to that a bit too. That he's probably going to be on a pitch count.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other guy nice to see back is Jaden Yankee. All indications are that he'll be ready to go. And it'll be, we haven't seen this team at full force yet. And it'd be sweet to see everybody out there, including Bach and Yankee, to get kind of the full force of our offense and defense all out there on the field at once.
Yeah, and yeah, that will be awesome. I really want to see that get screaming. I would love to see both the Yankees and Wildy out there.
That's what I mean. We haven't even seen that yet. We may have, like, for a few
They
plays.
could run trips.
But
how are you going to cover them?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, go ahead and double Jackson. Yeah. Do it.
Pick one.
Do it.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for defense. I mean, once they get clicking, I mean, it's going to be so hard to stop. I mean, not to mention our running backs. I mean, I think I do see Isaiah Davis having a big game in this one. That's one thing against a 3-4 defense. I mean, they do some weird things, but I do want to see our offensive line establish the line of scrimmage and open up some holes for our running backs. Because, I think UND, wants to get in a shootout. They would like to have a high scoring game. And I think that we need to really establish the run, establish the time of possession, limit their possessions, limit the number of times that we need to keep track of Schuster. Yeah. And like Seth said, speaking of Bach, he got hurt in the UND game. I think it was the first or second quarter. And we had some problems containing Schuster. So it'd be pretty cool to see him back on the field in this one.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that. That was well done.
Thanks. Outside of that, I don't know that we have anything else to talk about.
I would love to see us have a huge punt return again against someone not Drake.
Yeah.
They are known for their special teams being good too, so probably something we want to make sure that we put a stop to.
Although somebody said they only have like 2 punt return yards, so that's
historically something. Maybe I should say no. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
That might be colored by our fakes as well. But
right.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Right.
Yep.
If you can do us a solid, give us a share on Facebook, on your Twitter, share the YouTube with your friends. We appreciate it.
Word of mouth is big too. Tell people.
Like, follow, subscribe. The bigger this thing gets, the better we can be. Or vice versa. Potato. Thanks to everybody for tuning in tonight.
Perfect. As always, go big, go blue, go Jack.
Go Jacks.